That's the key.
That is the key.
As little work as you can put into a podcast is the best.
Yeah. No,
Podcasting is actually deceptively a lot of work.
it's good though, man. You learn a lot, right? I mean, you guys have both come on mine, and that's grown a lot since then. Arg's got to come on next.
So you were on his show too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, only you weren't invited.
I know.
You don't need to invite him.
okay.
Don't invite him out of
It's
guilt.
fine. It's fine.
Next.
You really
Don't
shouldn't.
invite him out of guilt.
It's okay.
He's not gonna
You'll
be
talk
that
for
good.
2 minutes and then nothing.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure that's not true. There's just so much we have in common.
That's why he had to go on Clubhouse to get his podcast fix. So, but like, who has more hits of the two of you?
Oh, that's a good question.
What do you mean more hits?
More listens? Who's more popular of you two
What do you mean?
for his show?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm
sure
do not
Howie.
know. Yeah.
I'm sure Howie, because they actually talked about something. Well, like, we were just like fucking around with like Baijiu. We got wasted.
Really?
Me and
Well,
Steven
what-
got wasted on the show.
Very
Are we
much.
drinking? What is this?
Let's drink this first. Yeah.
But what is this?
To
Can
celebrate
you tell-
Chinese New Year? It's Baijiu.
Baijiu?
Yeah.
But
So-
from 19, I saw the label.
Yeah, what kind of
Right.
Baijiu is this right
I
now?
don't know, to be honest with you.
Literally,
I have
someone
no
took
clue.
a paper bag,
My-
wrote 1983 on it, and wrapped it. Like
Yeah.
he had to when he was pouring it, he's actually like hitting the bottom because
Right.
the stuff wouldn't come out.
It's gasoline.
It's
We're
gasoline.
drinking
Yeah.
gasoline right now.
53% alcohol.
Yeah, it's gasoline.
All right,
Yeah.
well, we're drinking
I
Baijiu.
apologize.
Cheers.
It's Chinese New Year. It's fitting,
Kanbei.
right? Yeah.
This is
Cheers.
this is the
Kanbei.
Happy
honest-
Chinese New Year.
We've never been more honest drink. Oh my God, Jesus!
Woo! Oh, shit.
Should we switch it to whiskey or?
No. We got to see this through. You poured it out already. We got
Why
to see
does
this
it
through.
smell?
Smells like gasoline.
This is going to be tough.
Yeah. This is why I brought the xiao cai, you know? Yeah. How
Oh,
have
God.
you guys been?
I need to catch my breath for a second.
You like how he's turning the tables, like,
Yeah.
because he's like the podcast is like, well, so how's it going, guys?
Yeah.
It's like, no, Justin asked the questions.
Sure.
He brings the Baijiu. He puts us on the spot. Yeah, we've been okay, man. We've been okay. I mean, I really don't know what else to say. We just, it's a journey. It's a grind, right?
Yeah.
Life.
Has your podcast, because you guys have different experiences, right? Like you do this, you're on every episode, and you guys come on as much as you can. Sometimes it's just the three of you, right? Sometimes it's with a guest, sometimes it's with two guests, right?
Yeah.
Has there been like a one that worked out better than the other, or they all have their different purposes, I guess?
I don't know. I mean, I think we've kind of caught our stride with this podcast a little bit, but we don't have any kind of consistent format.
Right.
In which it's like, okay, how many hosts or how many guests? It's just whatever it is, man. I mean, like we said before, like we just try to have fun. That's our main thing. We just try to have fun on each episode.
Important, right?
Well, I think that's an important thing. Like as long as you're trying to have fun, it comes across, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to try to make every episode like this, like mind-blowing, revelatory kind of life lesson, you know? Because sometimes it's just sitting back, sipping some Baijiu and having fun.
That's when the learnings come.
Yeah.
When what we found was that when we're a little like tight about things, because like I mean we've done collectively, right? You've been on all of them, obviously, Justin, but like the show has been on for what 70 episodes.
Damn, congratulations.
Over almost 2 years now, and time really flies. But I think we know when we're really tight, and just having fun is a big part of like not sort of feeling really uptight, because then we don't learn, we're not curious, we're not having engaging dialogue, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we kind of have reflected on what works, and we're still trying to refine the formula a little bit. But having guests on is awesome, because we're naturally curious. But when it's the three of us, sometimes we struggle a little bit. Sometimes, and then we get a little bit uptight. And
Yeah, when you try too hard, it never goes well.
Right.
That's one lesson I've learned doing this podcast. Like whenever you try too hard, it never works out well.
Right.
The best episodes, in my opinion, have always been the ones that were like supernatural.
Yeah.
Like we weren't trying,
Right.
And it just came across. It comes off natural.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I absolutely agree with that. Those are probably some of the better ones. I've also found that some of the ones that I have thought went really well have performed less well to the public.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair
sometimes
amount,
when you're
actually,
recording an episode and you're like, oh, this is going really well.
Yeah.
Or the reverse, sometimes you're recording an episode, you're like, okay, this isn't going to be good.
Right.
Sometimes those are like the ones that have like the
Absolutely,
most, like the
yeah.
best listens,
Which just means you can't predict this,
what
in
is
many ways.
Stephen? What
Yeah.
is your like basic, I guess, standard for whether or not you feel like a show is good before you listen to it again?
before I listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, like because you noticed the mismatch.
Right. Am I allowed to plug it? Can I plug my podcast?
Go ahead, man.
All right. So I have a podcast called Shades of Yellow. You know, and I think I feel that way when we stick to the theme that we're trying to build. You know, my podcast was designed to kind of not show that there are different Asian people, which I feel like is something everybody should know by now, but rather that every Asian person has different shades. So whenever we achieve that, I feel like we accomplished
Yeah.
it.
You know what's ironic is that our listeners who are Asian
Right.
can't even tell the difference between us. You know what I'm saying? Like, Asian people can't even tell the shades
Really?
Yeah,
of yellow.
They can't.
Well, the voice.
They're like,
'cause
"谁是谁呀?"
Not
Yeah.
for the life of them can they tell the difference.
we haven't
between
heard
the
that in a
two.
while, though. We haven't heard that in a while.
Well, I think it's just because
just
it's
gave
like
up.
already a given. Yeah,
They just
they've
gave
given
up.
up.
They're like,
They've given up.
哇，这个人好牛逼啊！是 Justin 这个人真厉害，他可以演3个人。
Dude, you'd be a great voice actor, man. You know?
But what's interesting to think about since we're on the topic of like your podcast, our podcast, is like what have you taken away so far in terms of like improving yourself through doing the podcast, right?
Right.
Like for example, me, I feel like my communication skills, even off air, have improved because you kind of learn. You know, I used to be the type where when I would engage in a conversation with somebody, I'd always be like wanting to get my point across.
Oh, okay.
And so what would happen is you're so caught up in what you want to say, you're not even listening to what the other person is saying anymore. You know what I mean?
Howie and Arik are giggling right now.
Yeah. But it's like, but through doing this podcast, you can't do that. You practice not to do that because when you really want to engage with a guest,
Right.
you have to practice like true curiosity. You have to be honestly curious. Otherwise, it's not going to be a good episode. It's not going to be a good conversation. So I think what I've taken away from this podcast is just being a better listener,
Right.
and absorbing what people are actually saying,
Right.
before I kind of just give my take on it. And sometimes what they're saying changes my take, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really good for communication skill, I feel.
It's definitely good for communication skills. I have absolutely learned a lot. I think I learned that about when Howie came on, which is like 12, 13, right? Because I think up until that point, you know, we had technical reasons to begin with. And then, you know, by about episode 8, I learned that I cannot be blackout drunk every episode. That's one.
We were blackout drunk on our episode.
Yeah, right. But like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I have to learn how to do this better. And a big part of it is listening. What you said is true. You can maybe fake it for 10 minutes. You can just be like, really, right? But like, if you're doing 2 hours, like both yours and Howie's were close to 2 hours, you know, and it's just me and you. Like, there's no phone ring, there's no waiter in the background, there's no jazz to distract us. It's just me and you. Sometimes there's a dog barking on my show.
It's you, the guest, and dead air.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. So if you're not actually here, you know, I absolutely agree. Like, when I have a long day, it is so much harder to do this at the end of the day.
Yeah, you got to be present.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say because we always say, "I'll be present," but like to truly practice it and execute
Right.
it is a different story. It really is a different story, especially when you're talking to people you don't know.
Sure.
And they're strangers before they come on your show.
Sure.
And so you have like nothing in common that you know of yet to really kind of bounce off
Yeah.
one another, right? So
Right.
it's just like starting cold, and it's like, okay, hey, you know, how are
Sure,
you doing?
yeah.
You know, and how do you get from that point into like a really deep and developing kind of conversation?
Yeah.
is key.
Anytime that you are intentional.
Sorry, cheers.
Cheers. I'm pretty much like I'm like blackout drunk already from like.
Aren't your stomachs warmer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is warmer.
I actually feel like this
My
is
face is warm.
This is great because it just hits you all of a sudden. Yeah. But I feel lucid. The thing I noticed about drinking Baijiu is that you get all the benefits of that really nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, but you're still lucid. Whereas I feel like other types of alcohol make me groggy.
Cut to like 10 minutes later.
Yeah, we'll ask you again after the episode. No, but Baijiu is like a winter drink. Like, I only drink this in the winter, like when it's cold out. It makes you feel warm. Yeah.
Is that your excuse to drink Baijiu?
No, I don't need an excuse to drink Baijiu. The dumplings are the excuse. We had it last time, right? Yeah, for sure.
Anytime you like build a habit, like, and I consider like this podcast thing sort of a habit. Like, you build a habit and you're constantly trying to get better. and improve and reflect on, you know, what was working, what's not working, where are you getting stuck, and then you keep sort of working on it. Life lessons come out of it. And what you mentioned, Justin, just now, like this being a better listener, being more curious. We've had many conversations about this. And from a podcast perspective, it really serves all of us, because when we get tight and we're not listening and we're talking, the shows become very difficult and they're not fun, right? But that skill translates, like you said, to the rest of your life. And so you start building like life lessons. So anytime like you're building these habits and routines and working on something, you're kind of like incrementally getting better week over week, you know, episode over episode. And it's like a life lesson. I think we've learned so much from the show. And being someone who also, like, I like to just, you know, like in different environments, I'll go off on this long soliloquy. In the moment, it feels good. It feels like you need to get it out. But once it comes out, then you're kind of like, man, I fucking talk too much, right? And then you listen to the show itself, and then you're like, fuck, I'm an asshole. You know? And so I think, like, it's really weird because talking feels so good and when it comes out, but then it's only after it happens that you realize, man, I should have just shut my fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they always say, right? In any type of conversation, rule number one is if you don't know what you're talking about, don't talk.
Yeah, shut up.
Right? That's number one.
All right,
right?
that's it for you, Howie.
Listen. Yeah.
And then number two is, it's always better to ask questions.
Right.
Right? Just like what Justin was saying, one thing that you've grown, Justin, throughout this whole time is learning to listen. And one of the things that you also do a lot is summarizing and then asking questions back to continue the conversation. And that's where even more conversations come out. So I think that's, I don't know about you, Eric. You definitely go off sometimes, but I'm always totally fascinated by what you're saying. I never think that you're off on a tangent. I never think that you go too long, you know, personally.
That makes one.
Yeah. This should be your next poll.
I appreciate that. But I think we can all, you know, get better.
Yeah.
Because it's just natural to want to speak.
Well, I think public speaking is not only kind of becoming more and more of a lost skill, but it's an important skill that when you're growing up, no one really focuses on your public speaking skills, right?
Right.
You go through school, you want to get good at math or chemistry or athletics or whatever it is you're doing, but like public speaking is not something that, at least in my upbringing, was ever brought up.
Sure.
No one ever brought up public speaking. There was no public speaking courses in my school. So,
Really?
No.
You didn't have like speech and debate in your school?
We had a debate team. We had like Model UN and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, that incorporates. But like public speaking, like focusing specifically on your public speaking and bringing attention and shining a light on that skill was never something that I experienced or saw. But as you grow up, and if you want to work in teams, work in a company, a business, start your own business, you know, do a project, or just engage with people, like public speaking is a really important skill, because if you think about all the great leaders that were able to motivate people, it's not necessarily because they knew more than others. It's more about that they were able to articulate their thoughts in a way that resonated with people, you know? So sometimes, like, you don't know, like, even if we take, you know, this is a cliche example, but you take Steve Jobs, right? And he was not like the tech guy behind the business. There were other people who knew much more about computers and technology than he did. But he was the leader because he was able to articulate the ideas and the vision. And if you're able to do that, that can bypass a lot of other, not weaknesses, but like kind of uneducated, you know, areas of like, if you don't know, right? But if you're able to articulate, able to get a point across, then all of a sudden you become that leader. You have a lot of power.
Right.
You know, more so than the engineers and the people working under you.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that what you're learning with this podcast? Yeah. How to be the next Steve Jobs?
No, not at all. I mean, I still suck, but like, I just feel like it's something that I realized how important it really is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And public speaking, like, and especially I feel like here in China, public speaking is even less of a thing than, let's say, in America, because I think in America, the culture is like kids are just more vocal to begin with.
Right.
You know, they'll say whatever they want. You know, they'll express their opinion. They oftentimes talk too much, right? But here it's like, you know, we had Dr. Ryan Thorpe on the show in his class. He said like he would raise questions to the class and no one would respond.
Right.
You know, it'd just be silence.
Yeah. Don't a lot of like Chinese corporate meetings go like that too? I mean, you work in corporate, right? You probably have a lot of those meetings where, I guess maybe for you, you
Back
just
in the
tell
day,
people. Yeah.
No, back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, anytime you're holding a meeting, I mean, unless you're talking with other senior people,
Right.
But I mean, just I guess in general, the general staff would not speak up because number one is they don't want to say anything wrong.
Right.
You know, number two is maybe they're not as confident in what they're thinking and stuff like that because they're still learning, you know, quote unquote.
Sure.
And even though maybe, you know, I would pave out a path of allowing you to say things wrongly, and it's okay, you know, we can work it out, but they wouldn't get it,
Right.
In general,
Right.
I'm speaking in general right now, and I think it's just part of the culture. And just like you said in that episode with Dr. Thorpe, that was a big culture difference that was found between in the West and here.
Yeah.
Did you spend time in the Chinese education system, Stephen?
6 months between Germany and Canada. So, you know, while we were waiting for like our Canadian whatever legal entry method of acceptance, I did 5 months of school in Zhengzhou.
And what like age?
Grade 4.
Grade 4.
Grade 4.
Was it very interactive with teachers?
No,
and stuff like that?
but honestly, it was some of the happiest time of my life.
Nice.
You know, it
How
was.
so?
It's a great question. I was a pretty happy child. I didn't get like incredibly emotionally depressed and angry until like I was a teenager. You know, until I started drinking alcohol, as you know.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. But it was. I think this was '99 in China. You know, and I think in '99 in China, it was not that competitive at grade 4 then, because just not that many people had the chance to go abroad then. Right now, kids are starting their shit at grades younger than 4, right? They have like XYZ after school. When I was in grade 4 here, kids still had fun kind of after school.
Were you like in an international school?
No. It's like a local, you know, 小区 type of elementary school. Yeah, I had the whole red, you know, the red,
the scarf and everything,
scarf
little
thing.
Had
Had my school outfits, man. It was
look
cool.
at you, Steven. Little Steven, little cutie.
Yeah, we were in Zhengzhou. Yeah, it was a different time, man. Honestly, it was wild.
Well, what I was saying before about the whole, let's say, the culture difference between
Right.
East and West in general. I mean, do you resonate with that at all?
Yeah,
or?
yeah, for sure. I think education is a big part of it. But, you know, I work in a Chinese company now. This is the first time I've worked in a Chinese company. After being here for 8 years, this is my first time working in a Chinese company. You know, and we had like a team dinner a month ago, and my team everybody else is Chinese, and they're all younger than me. They're like mid to late 20s. And it was just really...
You're so fucking old, Steven.
Thank you. Yeah.
Eric sounds a little bitter.
He's so
He
bitter.
sounds so bitter.
He's so bitter that we're bringing up age.
It's okay.
Especially when he's saying
accept my
he
age,
sounds so bitter.
Yeah. You know, we'll all get to your
No,
age
because
one
like
day, right?
Eric's like 68 years old right now.
My heart is like 68, if that helps. You know, and so my liver too, probably. But no, it was really interesting because this was the first time I was out with Chinese corporate, like Bailing, right? What do you call it? Bailing, yeah. And just like how they reacted over dinner, like it reminded me of like high school, kind of, or
What do you
like
mean?
college.
What do you mean?
Just like it's like night and day between who they are at work and at dinner. Not necessarily in a bad way. You know, just
They loosened up, you mean?
yeah, you know, I mean, this goes back to what Eric was saying earlier with, you know, sometimes people feel tighter in these corporate situations, but like night and day, right? Like if you and I work together, we would hang out over lunch or whatever, and more if we grab drinks, it'd be more or less the same person. Not for them.
But how are they different?
Much looser. I think some of the topics they discussed, the way they discussed some of the topics, I work with them. We're not gonna go down this road in case one of them listens, you know, but it was just.
Be specific.
Yeah.
What's his or her name?
What is their darkest secret?
Right. The type of things that you would maybe more likely gossip over when you were in college or like in high school, those tend to be more prevalent topics of discussion.
But when it's work, they're just like straight up like professional. They don't like talk about anything. Like there's no gossip. They just like
correct. Yeah.
there's all about work. But are they like very opinionated at work?
No. It's a big problem.
Let's unpeel that.
Sure.
I feel some contrarianism coming from me today, but maybe it's just the Baijiu.
It's probably the Baijiu.
Yeah. My name is Justin, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate right now.
Okay.
So one thing that I tend to naturally sort of push back against is any kind of generalization in terms of culture. It just doesn't, like, because the implicit bias, unconscious bias, the way that we're all hardwired to think, our environments all shape, things. And I think we need to be very precise in our speech, as Jordan Peterson would say, right? We really need to kind of articulate the context, the background, and really have, an intelligent conversation. And so I don't disagree with some of the comments, but I think that we can't be lazy with the way we communicate, right? Education. Let's use education as an example. Education in China has a lot more history than most places in the world. So there's certainly a context, background, and a purpose for education. So the setting is so powerful that the people in the educational setting, whether it's a teacher or the student, probably find it overwhelming to overcome that environment. And so their role in that setting is already dictated. I don't think that Chinese people drink any less, have any less fun, or talk any less than any other culture. So like we can just put that aside, right? Like these generalisms, it's just, they're not true. But in that context, we can say, okay, in an educational environment where there's a teacher and an authority figure that's fucking respected, like he's motherfucking Confucius, yeah, okay, maybe I won't talk as much. Or in a work environment. And also depends on what kind of company. Is it a state-owned enterprise? Is it a multinational company? Is it a local Chinese company? Is it a big company? And so sometimes when we're not as familiar with our surroundings, we generalize because we don't know much about it. But if we were to make the same comment in a context like the US, where like big companies obviously act differently than small companies, but we would never make that generalization because we're familiar with the context, right? So I think the education is a big one. I think, and to kind of build on a lot of the Ryan's conversation, it's a massive institution. It's like one of the most important historical traditional institutions, in all of China. And so to then take our Western lens and say, okay, kids don't interact with the teacher, you're kind of, it's actually a lack of our understanding of how that environment
I'm sorry.
works.
I have to kind of jump in here because that's not what I said.
No, I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. I was
Okay.
actually
Because
tearing. I was
feel like-
attacking Howie.
Yeah,
actually, on
okay. I
this one.
just want to make sure we were on the same page.
What did I
here.
say that made you say that then?
You just said you made the generalization that like the culture is different here. You used that term.
And I said I
times.
generalized. And I did say I generalized.
Yeah. Anyways, it's the.
But it's not a
Baijiu.
bad thing to say a culture is different. I mean, it is different. To be like, oh no, all the cultures are the same.
We were labeling a little bit on that one. I feel like we were labeling a little bit,
Okay.
But you actually, like, I actually very much agree with what you were saying. You actually sparked that point, is that in that work setting, in your particular work environment, people are, a bit more reserved. And when you actually put them in an environment where they can express themselves, they're as expressive as anyone else. So I think I was trying to support that point.
No, I'm sure you were, but just to clarify, I think I was asked a question from Howie, and I explained my personal experience, right? I said this is my first time working at a Chinese company. This was what it was like when I went to school. General. I can't say that word.
Generalizing.
Yeah, my English is not very good these days. It's a Baijiu. When I drink more Baijiu, I have found that my English gets better.
No, do you find a deterioration in your English the longer you stay in China?
For sure, yeah,
100%.
Yeah. My English has gotten worse the longer I stay here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I'm
Not
like,
for Eric, though.
I forget words. I just don't know how to
But has your Chinese
articulate
gotten
myself.
better? Have you benefited from it?
I've plateaued. So like in the first 5 years, it went really high up.
Right.
But then now I'm plateaued where I feel like I'm not really
You
improving
need a new
anymore.
challenge.
I think what it is you need to go out and talk more and interact more and light up that part of your brain.
Yeah.
Because maybe you're not interacting as much. You're consuming, and during the day and stuff like that, and you're doing your work and stuff like that. Sometimes you have these calls and meetings, right?
Yep.
But in general, maybe the interaction is a little bit less, so you're not lighting up that part of the brain as much. Maybe.
I don't know, but I speak more Chinese than I do English on a normal basis.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have a random idea. Maybe you can host a podcast in Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
Great. I don't know where we
can
could
try
do that, but
will be a terrible podcast.
Just
but we
drink
can
more
try.
Baijiu.
And then I'll be an expert.
So going back, you were saying
And
because you didn't finish. You were saying about your general.
well, no, like I agree with what Arik said, but I also feel like there's a certain point where generalization is kind of what we're designed for. Like, and more or less, that's what culture is. It's a bunch of people doing something, right? And we're designed to kind of take shortcuts. Evolutionary, it helps us process faster.
I'll
Right?
make a small point and
Sure.
please continue. But we don't generalize for others. Like I can have my culture and all that stuff, and we can have general concepts and similarities within my culture. Like, you know, Sichuan people eat whatever kind of food, etc.
Right.
But that's for me to say, right? Like that's for me to have that, not for someone to generalize, you know, someone else and be like, oh, you're like this.
Yeah.
Right?
I think as long as you're talking through your own personal experiences, that's fine.
Sure.
And you were talking about your experiences at work.
Right.
But yeah, the key is not to generalize that and be like, take that one small sample size and be like, okay, well, that's the entire culture, right? But I don't
Right.
think anyone was really doing that. Like, yeah, like we kind of say things loosely, I guess, sometimes on the show, and they can be construed the wrong way. But I feel like knowing us, like none of us truly mean like, okay, every single person's like that.
Absolutely.
Right.
I agree.
We talk from our personal experiences.
I agree. None of us have negative intent. Maybe the reason that it kind of came out was that we've been I wouldn't say called out, but we've gotten feedback from our listeners on different platforms that, oh wait, no, that's not the case.
Right.
You know, and we've learned from that. It's like, no, like Chinese people, like, you know, and from Ryan's episode, and you saw the different points of view. Like, no, we're not just like taught to be workers, you know, like we actually know how to think for ourselves. And there was a little bit of debate there, you know? So I think we just want to be careful that we're not generalizing, you know, given our personal cultural backgrounds as well.
But I think,
anyways.
I mean, just what is the word generalize? You know what I mean? I mean, generalize, the meaning itself is not saying everyone.
It's average, isn't it?
I mean,
more or less.
But people take things in different ways,
Sure,
right? I took
sure.
that one as, oh, the Chinese education system is a certain way. And it just brought back that earlier conversation, like, oh, like, no, people in Chinese classrooms, they're just stupid. They don't talk. You know, like, people
No
can
one said
people
that.
can perceive that if we're loose with our language.
Or maybe they're perceiving that now because you said it.
Yeah, no one said that.
I don't think anyone's thinking that.
You know what? As somebody
We'll go back and listen to this episode and kind of dissect that.
right.
Blame it on the alcohol.
You know, cheers. Don't drink.
Oh,
alcohol.
cheers,
Drink
cheers.
together. Yeah. It's really cool that you guys have these listeners having these discussions at least though. Like I think that says a lot. You guys should be really proud
It's
of
fucking
that.
awesome.
Yeah,
It really
it's
is.
really cool.
It's fucking awesome. Like when we first started the show, I didn't think in a million years anyone will bother to listen, let alone like actually try to engage with us. So the
I know that
comments,
feeling.
yeah. so the comments and having that engagement is fucking. It's really motivating. It's motivating to keep doing this. But going back, I think we're opening up a can of worms on a really interesting kind of conversation about, okay, you know, we talked about generalizing, but if we even peel it back even more, it's just about being opinionated, right? And if you have an opinion on something, big or small, it can be construed from any angle as, oh, well, you're just generalizing. Well, I'm just speaking my opinion, right? If I say, oh, I think cab drivers are really nice in Shanghai, right? Someone can be like, well, you're just generalizing because a lot of them aren't nice.
A lot of them are, yeah.
But so anything can be construed that way. But I think opinion is also something that's really important in anything you do, because when you think about it, if you take opinion or opinionated talk out of a conversation, that conversation becomes fucking boring as hell.
Right.
Right? If you look at almost everything content that we find interesting, that's engaging, it's often because there's an opinionated spin on it.
Sure.
Now, whether you agree with that opinion or not is a different story.
Right.
But it's about having kind of, I don't want to say courage because I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's like a really courageous act, because it's not.
Right.
But I think it's having kind of the will or the confidence to be opinionated sometimes, even especially when you might think it might be an unpopular opinion.
Right.
But to speak it anyway, as long as it's coming from a good place, right, an honest place, that is crucial to any sort of communication, especially if you're doing a podcast or public speaking or trying to get a point across. So instead of always trying to walk in the middle of the road, being like, okay, well, I don't want to offend anyone, right? Which is what you see so often now in media and even in America, especially with like kind of the cancel culture and, you know, everything, like everyone walking on eggshells. It's like you want to be like, you want to have the balls to kind of stand your ground and stake your flag on one side of the line or another.
Sure.
Right? Especially if it's something you believe in, instead of always trying to placate everybody.
Yeah, I just think we're looking at it wrong though. Like I think too many people, and I think this is my issue with it, just they look at opinions like dry cement, when in reality they should look at it like wet cement. You know, it's still a very strong thing, but like it can change, right? Like even if you generalize that all Chinese cab drivers are nice, you should be open to the fact that that's not true, right?
Well, tying this back to a comment Howie made earlier, you know, and going back to what we've learned from the podcast, you know, about listening more and being more curious, is like you mentioned that it's better to ask questions. And it is better to ask questions because when you throw a wet piece of cement at someone, they can catch it and they can reshape it. If you throw a hard piece of cement at someone, then it hits them in the face. So I totally agree. Like I know that Justin feels, from what I've learned from some of your points of view, is that, you know, we should be honest and we shouldn't sort of mask what we truly think in this new era of call out culture. And there's a certain level of integrity. And I know it bothers you when, you know, people that are great people, you know, I sound like Trump all of a sudden, but when people that, you know, have a good point of view kind of express things in a certain way and then they get torn down unceremoniously for that. And so, no, I don't think that's the right way. Right. I want to pose a question to you guys, because we're really learning. I mean, as much as we like to talk about we're great listeners and we're curious, I always fall into the trap where, no, I become a preacher. And so there was a great, Dax, right? So I'm enjoying his stuff. Like we talked about this last week, but the new Joe Rogan is Dax Shepard, right? And so he had Adam Grant on. Adam Grant is you know, he's a really famous
I started
professor.
listening to that one.
Yeah. It's awesome, right? Did you like it so far?
Yeah, I like it.
Adam Grant is someone we've talked about on the show. He's one of the he's a cool guy.
He's
like
cool.
First of all,
he was on Clubhouse. He was going
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
It was awesome.
So he was one of the youngest professors granted tenure at University of Pennsylvania. He's actually a cool dude, and although he's an academic, he's really respected as a researcher and a scientist. But he's actually like a really smart guy that you would want to be friends with. But he studies how organizations works. He studies like organizational culture, and he has a podcast where he talks about like, well, how do we make work not suck, which is a very relevant sort of topic. On the show, he was promoting his new book. One of the concepts that came on was sort of like, well, what kind of mindset should we have, and how do you keep an open mind and curious? And so his book is called Think Again. I have not read it yet, just disclaimer. But he comes up with this idea, I think he got from another scientist, about preacher, prosecutor, politician. 3 Ps, right? Preacher, politician, prosecutor, politician. And it's sort of like we tend to take on the persona of one of these 3 sort of characters when we talk. So preacher, meaning I'm just preaching, and you're not even
listen to me.
You're not even fucking listening, and I get on my high horse. It's really uncomfortable for the other person, you know. And then you feel good in the moment as the preacher, but then afterwards you're just like, "Fuck, I'm an idiot," right? Prosecutor, you're judging, you're reading into people's stuff. You're basically falsely attributing things to that person, maybe as a projection of yourself, right? I do that all the time. I get angry, but it's really because I'm projecting myself onto others. And then politician, right? Well, politicians can do great things, but then sometimes they just say what you want to hear, and it doesn't actually do you any good because they're just pandering to you. So I thought this was a brilliant metaphor for the pitfalls that we get into when we're communicating with people, public speaking, whatever it is. We become a preacher, prosecutor, politician. And when I reflected on myself, I realized that I'm guilty of all 3. And it actually just kills my interactions with people because it makes me feel bad. And I don't think I'm really engaging with the other person. So I'd love to get your thoughts.
That's so brilliant. I love that. I love the 3 Ps.
Yeah.
I really do, because now I'm thinking about it in like the context of us, right? Like
The podcast.
Yeah. Well, it's like none of us conform 100% entirely into one thing. But
If we were to.
if we had to assign 1 P for each of us,
Wait,
I'd
wait,
be the
can I
preacher.
do- oh,
Okay,
I was
no,
gonna say,
go.
no,
Well,
you
Steven,
guys
it's
go.
better
Wait,
for
hold
you.
on.
You're outside.
By the way, and for the listener, Steven is our guest today.
No, he's just our homie, man. Come on.
No. I'm not gonna do that. I feel like that would end the podcast. You guys do it.
No, you should do it. You should do it. I think it'd be better coming from you.
Okay, so you're the preacher. You guys
Me
wanna- you
being
want-
who? You have to call out our names.
Justin.
Okay.
Sorry, right? Nobody can tell your voices apart. That you self-proclaim to be the preacher, so I will happily give you that one. Take
But no,
less
did you
little.
agree? If I hadn't said it, would you agree?
Sure. Yeah, I can see that
Okay.
point of view. Yeah, I can see that point of view for a lot of ways. Like I think when Arik said he kind of relates to all three, I can see that as well. You know, I can probably relate to all three, and so can Howie probably, right? It's a very political answer.
You
know
were
which
just
one
being the
I am.
politician.
Yeah,
just now.
yeah.
He was just being the politician right now. Okay,
Trick
I'll-
question. Yeah.
But
I'll do it. I'll do
It's
it.
good to
Yeah.
get the perspectives.
I think if we had to assign a hat to each 3 of us, I'd be the preacher. You'd definitely be the prosecutor, and you'd be the politician. Howie.
For sure. Yeah.
Eric would be the prosecutor, and Howie would be the
Interesting.
politician.
100%.
I was
Interesting.
Even though we fluctuate,
My reflection
between, but
was
like if
that-
we had to,
Yeah,
assign
I-
one.
100%.
Right.
I was a bit aggressive at Howie today for that comment, and it's not even you. It's me and things inside me
Yeah.
that I'm prosecuting. I'm prosecuting my own ass.
I know you do it all the time. It's who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
as long as I've known you, you prosecute. You come off like you're prosecuting others, but you're just prosecuting like your own demons. But for people who don't know that, it comes across like, oh shit, like you're jumping on me. You know what I mean? Like you're
I'm
pouncing.
getting better though, right? Because we did have.
Yeah, you've gotten a lot better.
We
You've gotten a lot
had
better.
a few episodes where we would go at each other, and
Yeah.
because you're the devil's
Especially in
advocate,
the beginning, yeah.
So you would push that. Well, the other thing is there's a fourth category called button pusher, and that's you.
I feel like it's like a game of werewolves now. Is what this is.
This
Well,
shit
I mean,
is-
I just feel like your buttons are like very easily pressed, like too easily pressed, like where I'm not even trying to press your buttons, but your buttons get pressed, and I don't even know I'm pressing them until it's too late. Like that was like earlier on, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, Steven, you'll definitely see what
Sure.
we're talking about right here.
Right.
The more time you spend with us or the more you listen to us,
Yeah.
you'll definitely see
No, I
this
think that's really
come into
cool,
play.
man. You know, like you guys have such a great dynamic here. I think it really works. Very happy for you guys.
I don't know if it works.
I don't know if it works.
We're hanging on by the skin of our teeth.
I like how where this conversation is going. Let's see where it's gonna go after another.
Yeah,
round
let's
of
take another
Baijiu
shot
and-
here.
and- It's cool, man.
Thanks for
Cheers,
bringing
guys. Happy
this.
New Year.
I'm thanking you now, Steven. I'm gonna hate you probably like at some point, and then love you again.
That's okay. You can text me. Just let me know.
The are you going to be in Shanghai all of Chinese
I'll be
New Year?
here. Yeah, I'll be here for sure. I'm gonna take a couple days off and probably get back to work over the weekend.
I want to pivot a little bit here, and I want to talk about something you recently put out. I like that, Howie. Little pivot. Ned Nash.
Sure.
What's
I
that?
think that's fucking awesome. You guys don't know
thank
what Ned
you.
Nash
That's
is?
cool,
How dare
man.
you?
What's Ned and Nash?
How
Slow
dare you
down.
not know?
Don't speak so fast.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
is that the
Ned
animation?
and Nash.
Oh,
So we
yeah,
started a
I saw the one that
cartoon.
you sent me.
Yeah.
So you started a cartoon series.
What?
An animated series called Ned and Nash.
Let's call it a guilty pleasure at this point. It's probably what it is.
But it's around crypto, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I mean, I work in blockchain during the day. So I'm in the space and I'm up to date. And it's just one of the things I learned very early on is you don't control macro things, bull runs, trends, when things are hot, when things are trending. You don't control these things. So you got to strike when the iron's hot.
In terms of crypto, right?
In general, I
Cryptocurrency
would
right
say,
now.
right?
Okay.
Like, I mean, we've talked about for like the Asian film stuff. We discussed this on our podcast, right? Like, we don't control that. Now there's spotlights on Asian cinema and Asian filmmakers. We just got to make the most out of it while it's on us right now.
You don't control the tides.
We don't control the
You
tides.
can just ride the wave.
Exactly, yeah. And you gotta, be ready when those waves come. But no, it is a really. I describe it as a very shitty cartoon. That's like honestly how I describe it, in so many ways.
But
Like,
but shitty in the way where like South Park can be called shitty as well
Yeah.
because it's minimal.
And
It's
yours
just-
is a pilot still, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of
yeah,
like
so
the
we
pilot.
just dropped a third episode, and this doesn't exist in this space. Most importantly, it gives me it is in many ways it's catharsis for me because like so much of my writing now is non-freestyle. Let's call it. Like I miss writing comedy. I mean, we've talked about this writing stuff. When you're writing other script stuff, it's just different than when you're writing comedy because you're just fucking throwing shit on the wall. We have a joke in there where it's something like, like Ned talks to Nash. He's like, you're not one of those like religious people, are you? You know, like you're not what I call like Mormons. No, not morons. Morons. You're not one of those morons, are you? Right. So there's like things like that. I enjoy doing more. Yeah.
Wait, what? So
Comedy's fun.
you have to write. Wait, when you write, like, do you have to write for work or something like that, or
No, so this is just a
I'm saying Justin should write. That's what
we have had very primitive conversations about this. Justin would love to voice, and I would love to have Justin voice as we grow more characters.
voice characters.
Yeah.
Please, can I get on as
It'll be
well?
so fun. It'll be so
Absolutely,
fun,
yeah.
right?
I would love
Yeah.
to do a voice.
When I first saw your pilot for Ned and Nash, it reminded me of like Rick and Morty, but about crypto.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice to see.
Yeah.
That's what we were going
Rick and
for.
Morty is something I've not seen, but I've been.
You haven't watched Rick and Morty?
No, but they
Oh
say
my
it's
God,
awesome.
so funny.
On crypto.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I've got a great voice.
He does have a good voice.
do.
Every
Yeah,
has
I
a
mean,
really
you guys
good
all have
voice.
great
I
voices.
do.
You have podcasts,
I
right?
do. Need to
But we
be on
would
Ned and
it,
Nash.
you wouldn't be able to tell. No one would be
I
able
would
to
do
tell
the comedic
difference.
voice for sure.
Yeah.
Just give me one. Just give me one.
No, I would love
He's good
to
at
have guest
accents.
voices for sure. You know, but it's just we moved so fast that I didn't want to voice this. We just didn't. We couldn't move. You know, any slower. I had the idea about second week of January. We launched our first episode last week of January. As Howie can probably tell you, animation is not exactly the easiest or the cheapest thing. You know, so the fact that we were
Kudos
able
to you for even doing it.
Thank you. Yeah,
Let's
you know.
drink to that.
Yeah. So how did you
cheers.
get it animated? Like who does your animation? Like how does it work? Can you shed some light on that?
Sure. So I have a great animator in the name of Carlos. He's in Ningbo right now, and I pay him a very cheap rate, to be honest with you, because
Don't say that. No, I'm just kidding.
Why?
Because he's gonna be like, I pay him a cheap rate.
no, he knows, he understands. I mean, like I'm very transparent with my freelancers that I work with. Right, this is my own money. This is what I can afford. There's upside in this. If we execute well, this is something you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
It's a choice. You know, but animators make a lot of money. You know, like I was saying, Howie will tell you, animation is not cheap nor easy. So we've gotten about 9 minutes out over 3 weeks. You know, from writing to release, and honestly, yeah, for a very low budget.
That's a lot.
Right. So, you know, in creative work, there's three things, right? There's the trade-off between speed, price, and quality, right? So I decided to trade off on quality.
2 for 1.
Yeah. You know, so the quality of, I mean, Carlos has done a great job given his resources and time.
I think the animation quality is really good.
he's done a
actually.
great job.
Wait,
yeah.
where is this? Where can I
It's on
find this?
YouTube. Yeah.
And you do the voices for both Ned and Nash.
Yeah, and that's not fun. And it's not good. Just so we're clear, it's not good.
Are you like really self-conscious when you do the voices?
Oh, very much. Yeah, this is my first time doing this. I had to like watch 20 minutes of fucking. Oh, you just pulled it up. Yeah, we just had a Nigerian Prince episode. You know, so I had to do a third voice, but
So it's all about crypto.
it's all about like it. I think how you described this is exactly how I want it to be. Very like Rick and Morty dynamic. You know, and how we want to monetize this is also like Rick and Morty, right? Rick and Morty do their ads outside of the episodes. It doesn't interfere with the
Well, the
storyline.
fucking cartoon looks amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Carlos did a great job.
God,
Yeah, right. It looks legit. It looks like a legit thing.
Yeah,
It
you
looks
guys can watch it after with the audio.
really
but,
good.
we have a couple of episodes come out, and then I'll probably renew Carlos's contract. It's mostly just because I'm in this space now, so I know how much money is in this space right now, how hot the market is, and how this doesn't exist.
So who's the audience you're trying to appeal to?
Probably more hardcore crypto people, because a lot of the jokes that we make are probably more deeper level. Like, you know, we had a joke
Like
about,
vocabulary used.
just like with market stuff. You know, it's like when you watch comedy or even Rick and Morty. If you don't have a good grasp
Inside
on pop
jokes.
culture, you know, you're not gonna enjoy Rick and Morty as much, right? Yeah.
Like you can be like, OMG.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, Misko? No.
Like,
oh my God.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Well, that's what I got when I because I don't know shit about cryptocurrency.
Right.
But when I watched their episode, I sensed that. I was sensed that I would find it. I would probably be enjoying it a lot more and be getting more of the jokes if I knew more about it. Right?
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
you use the lingo. You're talking about kind of current events that happen within
Yeah.
like the crypto industry.
Yeah.
Right. And you kind of have to be in the know.
Yeah, I mean, look, we do a lot of inside jokes. You know, there's a thing in crypto where the inventor of Bitcoin, nobody really knows, like, who the fuck is Satoshi, right? Yeah. So we have like a running joke on like everybody where they meet in the alt world is like, are you Satoshi? You know, it's things like that. Yeah.
What is cryptocurrency something you just had a passion for to begin with, or why?
Fuck no. So I
But you must know a lot about it to write about.
Well, now, you know, I've worked for a company full time since September, and I got in, essentially, like, if you talk internet bubble, I got in maybe 1997.
Got in what?
like in crypto, like getting into
1997.
No,
No,
he's
no,
saying
no,
he's
the
taking it as an
equivalent,
example.
right.
Oh.
Like
So-
getting in that, like when you got in for crypto would be
Right.
the same as if he had got in at 97
For the dot-com
for the
boom.
.com
Oh,
bubble.
okay.
Which is basically the fucking beginning.
Yeah.
well, close to it, not the entire.
So
right?
when was it? When did you get in?
September?
Okay.
Market moves fast, man. It's fucking crazy, you know. But like when I got in, Bitcoin was 16,000, and I bought some. It just shot to 48. You know, I've had multiple coins that do 10, 20x. I trade in it now too, and it's just these macro trends you don't control, right? You just got to do your best.
So, okay, enlighten me here.
Sure.
Because there's actually a lot of questions I want to ask you about this.
you
Because
guys
on
wanna
our,
do
on
this,
our
we can
last
do this.
episode, on our very last episode, we were talking about crypto. And if you listen to it, you clearly know that none of us know what the hell we're talking about.
Dogecoin.
But we're talking about it anyway, right? So we do talk about Dogecoin, but that's a separate thing I want to get to later.
Sure.
Right now is, okay, this is, again, I'm going to generalize,
Yeah.
right? But my opinion when it comes to whether it's stock trading or even crypto, all these kind of things, it's like they're just numbers. They're just numbers on a computer,
Right.
Right. And the numbers go up, the numbers go down, right? And when the numbers go up, people are saying like, "Oh, I made so much money," right? But you don't really actually make that money until you really cash
Sure.
out.
Yeah. You
Right?
gotta realize your gains. Yeah.
Like when you actually cash out into like cash.
Can
right?
you cash out right now?
I can cash out. Yeah.
So
You can
have
cash
you
out.
cashed out, or do people usually cash out? Because I feel like, and this is not based on any real life understanding or example or information, but because I take parallels from like the stock market,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I know.
And
You-
I know
you
so
trade,
many
right?
people.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really trade. I got out of it, but
Okay.
but I know so many people that do, and then they're always saying like, "Oh yeah, I made a bunch of money on this thing,"
Right.
or "It went up so many times, I made a huge bunch of money." I'm like, "Okay, well, did you cash out?" Like, no,
Right,
like
right.
my stock's still in there. So
Sure,
I'm like,
sure.
okay, well, the numbers went up.
Right.
You didn't really make the money yet.
Yes, yeah.
The numbers just went up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if you keep it in long enough, the numbers are going to go back down sooner or later, right?
yeah.
So, how are most people kind of in the crypto game actually capitalizing on the gains and cashing out and getting the cash, or are they just hedging their bets and just being like, okay, well, this is just going to keep going?
Like a bubble.
Right. Well, I mean, I think for now we're in a bubble. So we're on a bull run right now. So I feel like anybody who got in within the last 4 months will have made a boatload of money, and it's really about how much money you would have made. But this is the big difference between stock and what we do, and why I don't really want to go into stock is we can operate any second that we want. We don't have to wait for the markets to open. You can set your stop limits at whatever you want. So in many ways, you have much more ways to protect yourself. Yes, it's more volatile, right? But it's much more liquid. With markets, the higher liquidity rate that you have, the better the markets will perform. In terms
Well, the volatility can be a good thing depending on how you're looking at it. For some people, they love the volatility. They make the money because of the volatility.
yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are risk-seeking assholes like me. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't you think that the recent acquisition of 1.5 billion bitcoins from Tesla legitimizes Bitcoin?
Well, I think Bitcoin
More
was
than ever?
legitimized much before then. I think.
But okay. So when I got in, right, I got in when it was hitting like around 11, 12,000.
Cool.
Virtue
And
signaling.
that was like the first.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah. Why am I paying for the Baijiu? How we should be getting the
Yeah,
Baijiu
virtue
tonight, right?
signaling, humble
No,
bragging.
listen. When it went to when it got to 11, 12,
Listen,
right?
preacher.
And then it went down,
Right.
And then it went down, and then that's when that was back when I was all into crypto, right? When it was 11, 12, and then it went down. I just like fuck it, I don't even listen to it anymore. So
Right.
I just left it there. I don't even care,
Right.
But like back then, I remember because I was really into it at the time. Was like nobody really knew. Like it was very volatile.
Sure.
That was definitely a buzzword, volatile. Nobody really knew where it would go, but everyone was saying, well, worst comes to worst, hedge on Bitcoin, because that's like, it's going to be good. Everything else, you don't know. I mean, it's got up and downs. You got to ride the waves. You got to really read the market, and you can make a lot of money, right? But I'm like, I don't have time for that. And then, but Bitcoin is like, it's the OG of digital currency. It's the first, right? So it's like, that's a safe bet. But then you never know. And then all of a sudden it just drops down to like 3,000, 4,000. And I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
And now it's at 48.
And now it's at 48. And Tesla bought 1.5 billion Bitcoins. And back then when it was at 12, there was no huge movement. There was no huge purchase.
So what did you do?
Like,
Did you cash out at that point?
no,
did you
I
get
just
out
left
of
it there.
Okay, so you gained it back.
So you're great right now.
Yeah, but I didn't have a lot to begin with because I didn't believe in it.
Yeah, but you're just like a casual observer.
Very
of it,
casual,
right?
very
yeah, that's
casual.
different. Yeah, I took out a margin, so you know, like for I'm a little. It's just like I said, it's a bull market right now. I don't really know what's gonna go. Nobody really knows.
Yeah. But I just feel like it legitimizes it. It can't go down unless Tesla itself sells a bunch of its Bitcoins.
Right.
It can't go down that.
They're not
like 3,000
They're
again.
gonna accrue more actually.
Yeah.
Why
They
can't
bought
it
the
go
1.
down?
Because it's simple
how could
market.
it?
There's a limited supply.
Why?
It's
a limited supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't it go down?
Unless they unload a huge amount.
If people lose faith in the currency,
It doesn't work that way though. It's not like stock.
So you're a little past that point at this moment because
I don't get it either.
The majority of the Bitcoin that is being held right now is institutional, and they invest for very different reasons than I do, and they have different set of rules than I do. But can it go down? Absolutely. It absolutely can go back down to 11,000. Will it? Probably not.
well, I'll give you an example, right? Because I don't know anything about this. 10 years ago or more than 10 years ago, we had the financial crisis, right? And the stock market, it fucking tanked. And
Right.
then
Debbie Downer over here.
a little bit less than 10 years before that, all of the tech stocks completely tanked.
Right.
And so for those who had Amazon, if you sold, then whatever, right? But if you'd held on to it, so market sentiment versus the underlying fundamentals is a very tricky thing that I know very little about. And then with Bitcoin, it's even more tricky, to your point. And so how can you say categorically that, it can't go down?
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Right.
Citibank was at 97 cents X number of years ago.
Right. No, it can definitely happen. I wouldn't bet on it. And I think there's one of the smartest thing I've heard about this recently is that crypto and blockchain have a huge branding problem. And I think when we started this conversation, you asked me about this too, and I said, no, I don't work in crypto. I trade in crypto. I work in blockchain. These are two very separate things. And it's very poorly branded because the underlying technology has now gotten to a point where it's there, where it's like DeFi just isn't going to drop. So take what I do. I trade a lot of the coins that I trade at a 10x margin. You can't.
Okay, what does that mean? Because I don't know anything about margin.
I used $1,000 as collateral, hypothetically, right? And I borrowed $10,000 against that $1,000. So now I have $11,000. Right, so every stop that it goes up, I gain more because I have 11,000 of it, and I get charged interest, which is very low.
It's kind of like shorting, but
It's margin trading. Yeah,
Okay.
I take long positions, but basically, you can't do this on an actual stock trader because no one's gonna give you 10x without a credit check that'll last you months, if not years.
Yeah.
I can do it like this. Right, so you have much higher liquidity. Yes, the risks are higher, the volatility is higher, but you have much more liquidity, and this is the key here.
You can make bigger bets.
Right, you can make bigger bets
whenever
easier.
you want, and it's instantaneous.
Correct.
Right.
And it's all on a ledger. It's all, you can trace it, and I can borrow from you. I can borrow from Howie, and I can do it like this.
Yeah.
So that part has gotten there now, where you have millions of people doing that, where it's just not gonna crash. Not to the points where it'll ruin the entire industry. Sure, it might dip, and then it might plateau, and you gotta find things elsewhere.
There's just nuance of timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how an industry grows.
I get it. The look, my issue, my personal issue with crypto has never been that it's not legitimate. I know it's
Right.
legitimate. I'm sure I know there are a lot of people making a bunch of money on it, right? For me though, it was just like, call me old school. I just can't. As a principle, I tend not to get into things that I just don't understand myself.
Sure.
Right. And so that's why I never really got into stock trading. I never got into crypto. These are just things I just don't understand.
You're like a grandpa.
Well, it's not even like that. Like, I don't understand
No.
the technicality of it, but I just don't even understand the principle, the idea of it. You know what I mean? Like, I just never got my head. I'm like a caveman when it comes to this shit. Like I never got my mind around things that just were not tangible.
Right.
And it was built all on people's confidence and confidence in the market, and that stuff was just so foo-foo to me. You know, it was just never like solid for me. You know?
If you can't, if you can't understand how something works, then, I mean, how could you invest in it?
Yeah.
I mean, like take Buffett.
Speculating.
Take Buffett, right? He has been on. He's been interviewed. I mean, probably as recently as a few years ago, that he doesn't buy gold and or that kind of stuff, because it's not really a tangible asset that's doing something. He buys businesses because he knows that this business has people that have skills, that has resources and networks to be able to monetize.
Right.
And so he's like, I mean, gold. Like, I mean, there's a great, like, some videos of him on YouTube where he doesn't even believe in that. We're taking this to the next level, which is Bitcoin, which is even more intangible. So, I mean, I guess I'm not saying I don't believe in it. I wish I was in it, early on.
You still can. You can come in now.
but like, if you don't really, like, for someone like Justin or myself, where we don't understand this, how could I invest in it?
Well, the question, like, I agree, and I'm the same way, right? So that's why I invest in real estate, right? I'm a real estate guy, because I can actually go to the property, look at the property with my own eyes, walk in the property, feel its walls, right? And be like, okay, this is what I'm buying. This is what I'm investing. I get it, Yeah. But like, if it's not something like that, I just can't really wrap my mind around it. But I guess the question is, are we just being lazy at the same time and being like, oh, we don't understand it, so we're not going to invest in it? Because we can make the effort to understand it, right? Mm-hmm. But we're not. I'm not.
Yeah. Do you want my honest answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Stephen,
honest drink, right?
Help us understand why, knowing more about, or get us to the point where we can maybe see Bitcoin or some of the crypto as something tangible, like looking at real estate, which is a proven thing over many, many thousands of years. Like, if you had found the right properties, there are formulas for this kind of stuff, but help us understand why there's an equivalent.
Yeah, so I think where I would start is to make sure that you understand why you're doing this, right? I think anybody who goes into investing or trading, they have to understand, is my goal to make 10x? Is my goal just to do something on the side and make casual money, or is this like actually something I want to pursue? Right, so that's probably the first thing. But Bitcoin, like what you were describing earlier, I thought was really accurate. Bitcoin is very similar to gold. It doesn't actually do much, but like a lot of the other stuff, especially in decentralized finance, like Polkadot, for example, is I've been into them since they were at $4. They're about $25 now, and that was 3 months.
Polkadot is relatively new, is it?
Yeah, they're their own chain.
Is that another cryptocurrency? What is that?
Yeah. Okay, so the best way that I can explain this is good practice for me. I need to learn how to do this. You can think about blockchain like different internets. Like, imagine if AT&T had an internet, Verizon had an internet,
China Mobile
had, right?
Different networks.
Right.
Okay.
But so now you're on Google and you're searching stuff, but when you're on Google versus on China Mobiles versus, say, Sprints, there are different speeds, there's different costs. Every internet has their own specialization. Like, maybe China Telecom's internet is the best gaming one. That's where most gaming ones go. It's the less fees.
There's different technology behind it.
Is this what we're talking about? Is this where blockchain is?
So these are the different chains, right?
Okay.
So Ethereum is a chain. It's the most popular chain right now. So when you want to look at tangible things, you look at the number of people that trade and borrow on Ethereum. So this is why this was unlocked last year, because money got poured into it. When decentralized finance came out last year with yield farming, which is essentially just lending, like I deposit $1,000 into your bank. You give me an interest rate that is much higher than anything out there. It is safe. And then I also get extra rewards. Like, imagine if you give me $3,000, and then I pay you back 20% every month. And in addition, I give you some chocolate. That then you can use that chocolate to go somewhere else and trade that chocolate for a brownie, right? Or if I give you euros, and then now you can use those euros to spend, right? So there's, not only are you getting interest, and at the same time, your dollar is going up. So you give me $300. By the time you take it out, it's worth $500. And then I give you 30 euros that then you can go and use and buy Spanish ham. So think about what you just got there. You got extra money, you got Spanish ham for literally doing nothing.
What's
Wow.
but what's the
Does that make
what's
sense?
the catch?
I'm sold
But what's
because
the
of
catch?
Spanish ham.
Well,
no, the jamon.
There's risks. If the market goes down, you get liquidated, right? This is the best case scenario, but this is all based on the market.
No, I'm saying like there's got to be a catch, right? Like if as a chain I'm offering all these great incentives,
The catch
right?
is there's no guarantee.
You might not get the jamon.
Yeah. The hamon's the key here, right? Think about it. If you don't get the hamon,
It's the same shit.
Okay.
no.
Okay.
I don't know
Wait.
where we are
But
now.
okay. So no. Like, thanks for. Okay. Like, number one is thanks for opening our minds, because like I feel like, regardless of, if this thing is going to pan out long term, like we, there's enough people backing it that we shouldn't be closed minded and grandpas about it, right?
Sure.
But being a grandpa is fine. Like Warren Buffett's a grandpa, it's fine. But tell me, when are you going to get out? Like, what's your exit strategy?
I have numbers in my head, and then I set stop limits. I don't want to give like actual numbers, but I've tripled my money since Monday.
Monday.
Today
is
like
Wednesday.
Since 6 o'clock.
like
Yeah.
since February 8th of 2021.
Correct.
Since we started this episode.
That is how insane some of this bull run is right now. And I don't know how long it's going to last. Like, you have to understand, Elon's one announcement, right, for the Bitcoin thing, it shot it up, 20%? That's not a small amount.
No, of course not.
20%, right?
Okay, so when we say Bitcoin, when we say Ethereum, when we say Dogecoin, are these all the different currencies or are these the different chains?
So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Doge are different chains. And those are the primary currencies for their chains, right? The thing is, Bitcoin doesn't have a programming language. So Bitcoin is literally like gold. Ethereum has a programming language where you can do stuff on the chain. Dogecoin is the same as
So
Bitcoin.
is there a differentiation between the currency and the chain? Or are they just the same thing?
Well, the currency is usually like the thing that like if you want to trade me, send me money, right? If you want to send me money on Ethereum, you have to pay a transaction fee, essentially, like you do at normal banks. And you have to pay that in the native currency, which is Ethereum.
Okay.
So if you don't have Ethereum, you cannot send me money.
So Ethereum is both the name of the currency itself, but also the name of the blockchain, the chain.
Correct. Yeah. The ticker price is ETH, right? So this is how these chains work. If you want to use my chain and do anything on there, you have to pay a tax to me for everything that you do on there.
Stephen, what's the equivalent of like a chain versus an ancient civilization that produced its own currency? Is there some connection there?
Wow, that's a very deep question.
Or even a chain and a
Yeah.
bank. Like, what's the difference between the chain and a bank?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things with blockchain is it's all public, right? So at any point, you can check a transaction from you to Howie. Like, you can make sure that happened. It's decentralized. So, for example, in DeFi right now, I'm not borrowing the money from, Bank of China. I'm borrowing the money from you and Howie. So not only is that better rates and more customizable, but it's all done through smart contracts on Ethereum. So like Howie doesn't have to approve. Howie can just say, I will lend you at 4%. And then just leave it there. And Howie doesn't have to worry about it. And then I can decide whether or not I want to take the 4%. And then with the technology, that ensures that actually goes through. Right? With central banks, you still have to manualize that. You still have to check. You don't have access to Bank of China's records. You can't check what they're, how oftentimes they've been paid out or whatever.
So openness is like a benefit of the platform.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And
that
so-
seems to me like the biggest differentiator.
So it's not like one government that controls it. It's for libertarians. I mean, like people that don't want a lot of government control.
It's for
Yeah.
people who are in the game to be.
So why is blockchain the future versus like the government stuff?
I'm not sure it is. And to be honest with you, this is probably where I differentiate. Is the reality is the majority of people in blockchain right now are in there for the money, not for the technology. The overwhelming majority. Sure, a lot of purists are, and there's a lot of promise in technology. But like we were just talking about the Oculus, there was a lot of promise in VR 3 years ago. There was a lot of die-hard engineers who were like, this is the future. So the reality is the majority of people that are working this space are in this for the money. And there just happens to be a lot of money in it right now.
So who are some famous people that are in it? Who are people that we may reference as someone to learn from that are in it right now, like other than Elon.
I don't even think Elon's a good example. Like Elon's like a fanboy of this. Like,
Yeah.
he came in super late. You know, I don't know. You can just play around on Twitter. I'm not on there.
But the
very
fact
much.
that they even bought it at 33,000 per Bitcoin.
per Bitcoin, yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean, it's 1.5 billion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it sounds like a lot. To me, it's a lot. But, you know, in relation to like my net worth, it's like about 15 cents.
but it's still a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a lot, right? And the fact that they bought in when it hit at 33, as opposed to when it was rising, you know what I mean? Or as opposed to when it
He's
was
speaking
3K.
like an owner, isn't he? He's speaking like an owner of which platforms do you own?
No, he has
Dude, why are
Bitcoin,
you
right?
prosecuting nonstop?
Yeah,
Just chill, dude.
he's such a prosecutor.
So what I'm trying to say
Burning
is that,
people
like,
at the stake.
I know, right, man? Chill, dude. So,
It's witchcraft.
I mean, just the fact that they came in at that point, right? Doesn't that symbolize something?
Yeah, I mean, there's this ongoing meme in blockchain where people lining up at the door when Bitcoin's 2,000, there's like 0. And then people lining up at the door when it's 30,000, there's like 100 people lining
Yeah.
up, right? It's a crowd mentality.
But that's how everything works. People
Right.
like the majority, the bell curve, right? The majority of the people are going to get on
The adoption
late.
curve.
Yeah. Early adopters, and they're named early adopters for a reason because they're adopting it early when no one else is really adopting that, whatever that is, right? But that's everything. But there is a danger in I think the kind of mindset. There's a comfort, but there's also a danger in the mindset of being like, well, this is a very notable person and he's doing it, so it's got to be legitimate now, right? I mean, to fall into that loop is also dangerous in
Yeah.
a way as well. I mean, it's a lot of money, and that money makes you feel like, okay, well, Elon's a smart guy, and if he's going to invest that much money into Bitcoin, he's obviously doing it for a reason. He's obviously probably thought it over.
Must have done his research.
Yeah, he must have done his research. He has a whole team behind him, and he has all the data and information, and he's still doing this. So it's got to be
Because
like,
that's going to affect the
it gives
bottom
you
line
confidence.
Right.
of Tesla.
But at the end of the day, we really don't know what his kind of mental processes are with that particular move, right? Like, we just don't know. And Elon is not like, we put him up on a pedestal, as we should, because this guy's just a fucking crazy genius. But he has in his past, you know, made moves that didn't really pan out. Like, he's not perfect, right? So, you know, and how much of this is also kind of because Elon is also the kind of guy who likes to, he's like a nerd, right? But he's recently got into this role of where he's like an influencer as well, and he's a cultural icon now, right?
Very much so, yeah.
So from like a guy who came as a background of like kind of a nerd that no one really paid attention to, girls probably weren't all jumping all over him, to now he's the fucking man.
Sure.
Right? Like, you know, and he's smart enough to make moves where to kind of keep his not only relevancy up, but his brand. Like, he's a brand. Elon himself is a brand name now. And he's always going to make moves, and investing in something like Bitcoin plays right into that brand image of being like into tech, being into like that fringe kind of thing, even though it's not entirely fringe anymore.
Yeah.
But doing kind of like these crazy tech moves into like these cool spaces is part of his brand. So part of
make
it
a good
could be like a publicity stunt. You know, I'm not saying it's entirely a publicity stunt because that's a lot of fucking money to do just for a publicity stunt. I'm sure he sees real growth there. But a part of his motivation might also be because this helps build my brand as well. You know?
Justin,
and there's value in that.
Yeah, I think it's a very insightful share. I mean, just to add on a couple of points, right? So, you know, just because Warren Buffett invests in a company doesn't mean it's like the right decision for an individual investor, because the terms and the conditions and the context of that investment, it's just, I mean, it's kind of difficult to compare.
Yeah.
Right. The other data point, I mean, let's just do some math, right? Tesla at the closing yesterday, $815 billion company, 1.5 billion. If you were worth 100,000 US, which I think is a significant amount of net worth for most people, that would be equivalent to $184, give or take a couple of cents. you know. So when you kind of look at the 1.5 billion again in the context of like, you know, 1.5 billion, yeah, great. But if you were worth 100,000 US, again, not a small amount of change.
But one is worth and one is in your bank account.
No. I'm saying.
Wait, what are you saying right now? I'm not following.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
following.
So Tesla is worth $815 billion as market cap and et cetera, et cetera. It's got like $20 billion in the bank, right? If we wanted to use that as a proxy, so I'm playing around with a proportion of my market cap because I can sell stock, I can raise funds, I can do a lot of things, and I agree, Howie, it's not directly commensurate with that, but let's just say it was 815 billion, 1.5 billion. What's that relationship? If you were a company and you were worth 100,000 US, as Tesla is worth $815 billion, making that Bitcoin purchase, you'd be buying $184 of Bitcoin.
So it's negligible, is what you're saying, right?
So it's like pocket change, right?
It's pocket change.
The other thing you have to understand here is their price is already appreciated by about 20
yeah,
plus
I mean,
percent,
the fact that he
right?
this is the same guy that said, "I'm going to take the company private for $420," right? I mean, he does completely agree. He does have a track record of really bending the rules, smoking lots of weed and making interesting decisions. But anytime we compare ourselves to a billionaire, that's when you fuck up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
This is pure speculation, right? I am no expert, but you know
disclaimer.
how a couple of weeks ago he was tweeting about Dogecoin, right?
I was neck deep in Doge. No, I'm not anymore.
Okay.
I got out.
Well, Ned Nash has a Shiba in the cartoon. Right? You have a
Our
cartoon
second
Shiba.
episode was on Dogecoin. It wasn't designed that way. It just happened that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is that, I mean, one of the main reasons why Dogecoin suddenly became a household name, I mean, for a couple of days at least,
Right.
was because Elon Musk tweeted about Dogecoin
Consistently.
and all of a sudden it was like rocket ship, right?
Yeah.
The value of Dogecoin went up. I almost think I just thought about this right now when you're talking about this. I was like, well, what if he was just using that as a test, right? He was like testing the waters a little bit, and he saw his effect on that, right? And then he's like,
Puppet master.
but bam! I just bought 1.5 billion Bitcoin, right? Raising the value of Bitcoin, and maybe he will pull out, and just ride that wave, gain that profit,
Yeah.
right, and then pull out. Maybe.
Yeah, he might. There's the other side of the argument for that. He definitely might do that,
Or the flip side,
Right.
maybe because he knew that he was going to have an effect on the cryptocurrency.
Right.
That if his company came in and bought that much, Bitcoins, that maybe it would become a catalyst for other corporations to come in or other big ballers to come in.
Right.
Well, speaking a little bit closer to home, I like your thought process, right? Like speculation leads to some interesting ideas. So, I have how should I not divulge this person's identity? Okay, I have a family member that at one point was managing a bit of money and investment. Like we're talking billions or whatever, right? And it was a very legitimate sort of business, and they're investing in companies and all that stuff. But I was surprised when this family member told me at that point, this was a while back, that they were also investing 1 or 2% of their fund into Bitcoin or into crypto.
Yeah.
As a kind of okay.
Yeah,
So you were asking me if
out.
you wanted something.
No, yes.
As a type of hedge as well. So like when you're that wealthy, yeah, you can hedge. But again, like you just, like I said, like we're not investing $1.5 billion. Yeah. We're not even, we'll never be worth $1.5 billion.
Well, let's change gears a little bit, but keep on this topic of kind of speculation and Elon Musk. Like at a certain point, I mean, you're human, right? Like,
Right.
Like imagine like if you're in his shoes, like do you feel like he almost kind of has maybe developed, and I'm not saying this as a judgment thing, I'm just saying I think anyone in his position might, like like a little bit of a God complex. Like when you can have that much influence over like world markets and entire industries and entire cultures, right? Just through like your tweets or you're like, just putting something out there, and you can shift entire landscapes at your will.
Right.
Like you got to have a little bit of a God complex at that point, right? Like, I mean, how do you feel like he controls that.
Well, can I add something? This is another topic that we've been talking about recently, and a lot of it goes back to Elon Musk. So recently, we've been talking a lot about this app called Clubhouse,
Right.
right? And like a week or so ago, Elon Musk just did a surprise drop-in on Clubhouse and basically just like opened the floodgates, right? And totally went to the max capacity and then some, and all these other people like, what the fuck? And all of a sudden, for that week right after, Clubhouse was just like on everyone's radar. To the point where China even got into it, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everyone's talking about Clubhouse.
Are you on Clubhouse?
No, I'm not on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Yet I probably will be, but
Yeah,
You get on. Well,
But it was like a flood.
Right.
And a lot of people attributed to Elon Musk because he was the first person to cause a room to hit the max in like 5 seconds
Well, he
or whatever
fucking
it was.
interviewed the Robin Hood guy. He interviewed Vlad.
Yeah. And,
So,
and
of
then they were
course,
saying, Elon was like, I would just come and check it out. I was like, you know what I mean? It was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
And going back to what you're saying, Justin, you're like, well, you get to a certain level where you do these little small movements that literally move mountains.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But let's flip this backwards, right? Or flip this upside down. So would this be a case of him showing generally tremendous amount of restraint given his massive influence? Okay, and what I mean by that is think about the comments that you normally make on a regular basis, and think about if you were then Elon Musk, and based on your daily behaviors, what kind of ripples those would cause. And should the case then be made that Elon Musk is extremely restrained for the level of influence that he does have?
Like that, he's not like turning into a Donald Trump or something.
I mean,
like
if you just took my daily comments and you've aired them, the markets, and I had the influence of Elon Musk, the markets would probably just fucking fluctuate 100,000 times more.
Well, I think it's natural because public scrutiny inherently puts restraints on people, right? So like when you're in the public's eye so much, you are more measured in what you say. Hopefully, I mean, maybe not some people, but like usually like celebrities, we see them like once you're in the public's eye and you're famous, there are a lot of social pressures, expectations, constraints around what you do. And you have a whole team of people. You have PR people around you telling you what not to say, what to say, when to say it, where to go. You have all these things. And so, yes, and to your point, I think there definitely are a lot of restraints. And he is, given the amount of influence he has, he could be doing probably like a lot more damage. Not that he's doing any damage, but he could just go all out, which he's probably not.
I think he's much better. Like, and maybe just to kind of personalize this, he's way more better behaved and restrained than I would ever be with his level of wealth.
Yeah.
Hey, Steven, so do you think, I mean, in terms of the cryptocurrency world, I mean, his actions were quite meteoric, right? Like, it was pretty big.
Yeah,
Like,
Elon has made me a
meteoric.
boatload of money. That's about what I'll say on this. He has made me
It
a
rocked the world.
fuck
I
ton
mean,
of
everyone
money.
was talking
Yes.
about it.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, it made people talk about cryptocurrency again.
yeah, and
I'm talking about cryptocurrency and isn't doing shit, you know? So I think you have to look at the actions, the frequency of the actions, and the extreme or not extreme tone of the actions in the context of all of their actions.
What? No, okay. Before the Tesla move.
Like based on what Steven just said,
yeah.
if Steven was fucking Elon Musk and he came on a fucking podcast and he just fucking said everything that he said,
right.
it would be, you know, I just think we have to kind of be a little bit more realistic about like what's going on, what's actually going on here, you know?
Before the Tesla move was because you guys, I thought cryptocurrency was a hot topic forever. You guys saying before Elon or Tesla bought the 1.5 billion in Bitcoin, it was kind of losing popularity?
You want me to go on
Yeah,
this?
please,
Sure.
please.
I think the market picked up last summer. So I think once decentralized finance got into blockchain and crypto, it really changed the game. So there are these things now called stable coins, right? Which is literally digital currency. So, you know, USDT, USDC, DAI, you know, there's 3 ways to do them. But most of them are essentially, if I have 200 million US dollars in a bank somewhere, I can issue Howie or our market $200 million in equivalent because I have the collateral. So this has really changed the game because, you essentially got rid of the only problem, which was the volatility. Right? Before, if you held Bitcoin and it started crashing, you had to trade out into something else that also might be crashing. Now you can trade it out into a stable coin and relatively, within 99 to 101 cents, have it be stable.
Why is it so stable?
They can have it in collateral. So there's 2 to 3 ways of doing this. The most common way is to have it in collateral, right? The equivalent version. So, Tether, which is the company behind USDT, which is the most common stable coin, they have hundreds of billions of
Basically, it links to the US dollar.
Correct. Yeah. That's one way of doing it. Another way is to do it through a basket of goods. So you have some gold, some oil, some euros, and some US dollars, and you have some sort of algorithm factor. And a third way of doing it is through a smart contract that automatically gets executed based on supply and demand. So if price is too high, they buy more. If price is too low, they supply more. So it's like bonds, automatic bonds.
Okay.
It's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still don't understand.
And that's where
shit
Justin
about
goes,
it.
I'm going to stick with real estate.
Well, let me.
As you should.
I think
There's
that
nothing wrong with that. Cheers.
I think this opens up a lot of interesting conversation.
Hey, Eric, maybe you want to share some Baijiu since you're babysitting your Baijiu.
Sure. Thank you, Eric. Yeah.
Eric is coddling.
That's okay.
Okay,
Some
so
place.
I'm gonna try to be neither a prosecutor, politician,
Impossible.
or
Impossible.
preacher. But I'm going to try to think
Tom
more
Cruise.
like a.
Zero confidence
Tom
in this
Cruise.
working out.
Yeah. I'm going to try to think a little bit more like a.
Mission Impossible. Okay.
Yes, that's a
get it.
good one. Oh, that's really good.
Oh,
Ted
I-
Lasso. You are like he's. But that was like first level Ted Lasso. I would expect
What
a
do you
little
want
bit
to say,
more.
Steve?
Can I just quickly cut in to Howie?
Yeah.
So apparently, because we're talking about Elon Musk, Tom Cruise and his producer bought 2 seats on one of their missions to outer space because they want to shoot part of the next Mission Impossible movie in literally.
my God.
And Tom does his own
crazy.
stunts, right?
That's crazy.
In space.
Yeah, so it would be like a 2 or 3 person crew.
That's
They would-
crazy.
Oh my God.
They
It's-
just bought the seats.
It's so crazy that you say that because today I just watched the Super Bowl trailer of Top Gun. Of the new Top Gun.
looks
The
sick,
extended
doesn't it,
trailer
right? I
special
haven't
for Super
seen it
Bowl.
yet, yeah.
Look good?
It's fucking ridiculous.
Really?
I'm sure.
It is so
Tom Cruise in it?
ridiculous.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Is
I
he
don't
in
know.
it?
I don't know. I don't know anything
Yes.
about the new Top Gun.
Have you not heard about the new Top Gun coming out?
No.
Oh my God. Yes,
you
Tom
gotta
Cruise
check
is a
it out.
star. And he is flying the fucking jets.
Is he reprising his old role?
Yes, Maverick.
Okay.
He's Maverick.
But he's older now. He's like the
He's
trainer.
older. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like
but
a
he's
lieutenant
Maverick.
or
He's
some
Maverick.
shit.
He's
Yeah.
still
okay.
he's still himself.
Yeah.
And they had like a short like a minute or minute and a half at the very end of like behind the scenes, and Tom Cruise is literally flying his own fighter jets.
Yeah.
Like he's like
That dude's
flying his
fucking
own fighter
nuts,
jets,
man.
like doing dogfights in the air. It's like it's fucking ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
insane.
That
That got
dude
me
does his
so
own
hyped.
stunts. It's
I've never been more hyped about a movie. After watching it, I was like, oh my God, this is insane. So
I'm so hyped.
when you say they're gonna do it in space, that's insane.
I'm going to draw a connection. Tom Cruise, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them have extended their brilliance into an age where, no one goes to.
Unprecedented.
Unfucking precedented. I mean, like, they're incredible. They are legends, right? They're already legends.
Yeah. He was already the GOAT.
Yeah,
Now he's
and-
like the GOAT.
Yeah,
you know?
and
Tom Brady.
I think that's
Yeah,
a great,
Tom Brady,
the
yeah.
goat.
But also Tom Cruise.
It's definitely like goat. And
Can we talk about, for the people who don't know who Tom Brady is, who's Tom Brady?
Tom Brady is an American athlete in American football who has achieved something that no one has ever achieved. And for those of you who know who Michael Jordan is,
He's the Michael Jordan of
Tom
football.
Brady has achieved, he's surpassed the accomplishments of Michael Jordan in his respective realm with 7 championships. And Michael Jordan won 6.
surpassed.
He surpassed. And in the U.S., the American football business is much larger than the basketball business.
Yeah, but this is okay. I'm not gonna be. I was about to be prosecutor. I was about to be prosecutor / preacher
We gotta
Because-
remind each other of the roles again because I forgot them by now.
because that's opening a whole can of worms that I can debate on forever in terms of like the comparisons between football and basketball and what each of them have achieved between Michael Jordan and Tom Brady. I still feel Michael Jordan has accomplished more in his respective
sport?
sport. Yeah. than Tom Brady has. But that is an open-ended debate. Okay,
It's not a debate.
okay. Yeah,
No.
For some people, some people might want to debate that, but
Acknowledged.
Yeah.
Absolutely acknowledged.
no. Also, I'm biased because I'm a New York Giants fan,
yeah.
so I've never really liked
Yeah,
Tom Brady. But you have to give it up. You have to give it up to Tom Brady. He's the GOAT.
You guys, defeated him a couple times, and including the
Hell yeah, we did.
the
Hell yeah, we
undefeated-
did.
Yes.
I personally defeated Tom Brady.
Can I tell you? I read this thing where you guys might be in the Deshaun Watson race.
Oh shit, yeah.
I'll send it to you after.
Hey man, he's got to leave the Texans. He's gonna leave. I mean, they're gonna have to trade him.
He will for sure.
Anyway,
Sorry.
Well,
Is this football talk?
yeah.
Yes.
I know nothing about
So
football.
first of all, acknowledge it doesn't reflect my own personal view of of who's the greatest of all time, but the fact that they can be debated is the point that we're trying to make with our listener base who probably doesn't have the full context, but the GOAT of the GOAT, which is like the best of the best.
What is
And-
GOAT?
Yeah, when we say GOAT, that is an
Greatest
acronym. Greatest of all time. The greatest of all time is called the GOAT.
Yeah.
GOAT.
Yeah. So like it's like you were the Confucius to the Confucius. You know what I'm saying?
You
There was a
love
guy
using
there,
Confucius.
right? There was a
Yeah.
guy.
He-
Yeah, there's a guy there.
He uses Confucius in every metaphor.
episode.
Yeah. He has to pull in Confucius.
Yeah.
Hey, he's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
I like Confucius.
But no, I was just drawing a facetious comparison. But Tom Cruise, Tom Brady, and then the other piece of this is that Tom Cruise is like 邪教, like a Scientologist, right? So he's a Scientologist.
Is he still?
Yes.
Yeah.
Still
And I'm
very-
not judging against it, but like in Chinese, like we would consider him as part of a 邪教. And Tom Brady, he's in his 40s. And
Is
he's,
Xijiao cult?
yeah, cult,
Okay.
kind of like. And Tom Brady, he's in his 40s. He's in a sport
mid 40s.
where he's in a sport where people retire when they're 27, 28, 29.
Yeah.
Right? He's 43, 1977. He's 44 now.
Unprecedented.
Yes. And
unprecedented.
his guru, right, the person that he relies on, something Guerrero, is also known as
Confucius.
is known Confucius, yeah.
for a first name and then Guerrero.
No, 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 no,
Tom Brady's
no.
Confucius Guerrero.
Alberto Guerrero. I can't remember
Tom
the name.
Brady's guru is
But
Confucius.
basically, this guy is banned from the sport for maybe having performance enhancing types of techniques. Of course, I'm not accusing Brady. Like Brady he seems pretty legit, but he also has his sort of 邪教kind of thing because this guy has been completely banned from the NFL. His trainer, his personal trainer.
Well, even before that, it was Deflategate. He was part of that, right? So like he's not clean of conspiracy and little these scandals, I guess.
Right.
But I mean,
Yeah.
he's still the GOAT, right? Like the GOAT's the GOAT. Like
Yeah.
he's still like fucking incredible.
Yeah. So, anyways, but yeah, no, I think that was an interesting conversation. The two Toms. Just quickly pivoting back to Bitcoin.
Wow, we're just jumping around right now.
We
Let's
are.
get back to Bitcoin.
Let's get from Confucius to Tom Brady to Bitcoin.
Let's
I
go.
love it. I
Let's
love
go.
it.
Let's go.
Hey.
No, these are my favorite types of episodes
Justin,
where we
just-
go
all right,
crazy.
I mean,
where we
Howie,
go
just
crazy.
do what you're good at. Listen.
What an asshole.
I will say Howie's a pretty good listener. I will support
is
that
awesome.
statement.
Thank you.
You've been a pretty good listener too. Steven.
I've been working.
I want to hear more from Steven.
I've been working on
Howie's
this, yeah.
Howie's the guy that I called up back in the day because I mean, first of all, he's such a great friend. But man, when I was like I had fucking shit going down, I would call his ass up and tell him the shit that was going down.
He is a good listener.
And a friend. And a
Steven,
great friend.
I just if you didn't know already,
Right.
I mean, you should know this already, but if you didn't
Sure.
know already, when Eric and I and how we get on a roll, you have to fight for your airtime. You have to fight for your talking time.
Bro, man, listen, I'm
Don't
okay
don't
to
ask
just
permission to
listen.
talk. Don't ask permission. Be like, oh, can I cut in? No, just cut the fuck in because you need to shut us up. You need to shut us
No,
up.
I
Jump
enjoyed
on the
this.
table.
No, man, it's cool. It's cool because you guys have a very different dynamic, So I think for me, I'm just happy to be here among peers.
We're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Don't be a politician, man. I'm just happy to be here. Yeah.
No, but there's got to be a big difference because on your podcast, you are
Right.
the lone host.
Sure.
It's just you. So
It's just him.
Does
There's
it
no one
feel
else.
like when you sit here and you join our podcast? do you get a desire to want to have co-host, or does this give you the opposite desire? Be like, no, I don't fucking want co-host after watching us.
Yes.
What? Yes to what?
The latter.
The latter.
Yeah. I don't want co-host. No, but also I think it's just, like I think what you guys have is really special.
This should be the Justin Yang show.
Yeah. It'd be a great show, probably. Look, I think you guys have such a great dynamic.
No one knows who Justin Yang is. I'm Justin Yang.
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
Go to the GOAT.
You guys have such a really cool dynamic here, man. I think the pastor, preacher, fucking prosecutor thing really exemplifies.
It's not prosecutor, it's prostitute. Get it right.
Yeah.
Was it? I'm not sure.
It's a preacher, politician, and prostitute. That's what.
I'm Protestant, actually. I hate Catholics.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No. Dude, I'm happy to listen. This is cool. Like, watching you guys do this, it's really cool. I'm just happy to be here, to be honest with you.
Well, look, we always have a good time when you're on the show, man. I mean, you're one of our boys. You have like I said to you on several occasions, you have an open invitation to attend our podcast anytime. Just hop on whenever you want. Shoot me a text.
No, man. The
we just
listeners
talk
are not.
we will
they're not
invite
gonna
him
enjoy that
regularly. You know what I like about Dax is he has like the blah 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 returns thing. We should steal that and be like Steven returns.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Whenever we
I
have a
like that.
returning
I like
guest.
that. Returns part 2.
Please
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Can we change my name this time? Can I be like Jack Cho or something?
Yeah, sure,
So
Jack
it'll
Cho.
be like
You
a
could be
different-
blockchain.
Wait, Bob, one second. I just want because we've
Confucius.
touched upon a little bit about what he's been doing. He's doing his podcast.
Sure.
He's got a new podcast, Bone
Broth Soup.
Bone Broth Soup.
Right.
He's got his animation, Ned Nash.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have your normal podcast.
You got
Shades of
so
Yellow.
much shit going on.
Yeah, dude. That's one thing.
I
I was about to be
always-
like, what else you got going on? You got enough.
That's one thing I've always admired about you. You have so many balls up in the air. You're juggling so many things.
What about
You're
the
doing so
Noodle
many
Shop?
cool things.
That's the umbrella, right?
Is the Noodle
Right.
Shop still going on?
Yeah, the Noodle Shop is more or less just like a slogan at this point, to be honest with you. It's something where, media is in a stage where it's reinventing itself and we're just along for the ride. I'm much more of a product person, so I'd rather build from the ground up rather than top down.
Can I just say something really quick? So I really like your design sense.
Oh, thank you.
So the posters that you put out, the
thank
Instagram
you.
photos and stuff like that. I
Cool.
like the. I mean,
Means a
obviously
lot coming from you.
No, the color palette is it's very
I mean that,
fitting
yeah,
for what you're doing, but also the font you're choosing and the layout you're doing. It's
Thank
really
you.
nice.
Yeah,
I like what you're doing.
But Howie, I think you're the only one here that knows that none of this shit actually matters, right? The only shit that matters is what I'm trying to do next week.
I know. Let's talk really quick about that.
what are you trying to do
We
next
can
week?
wrap up.
Let's talk about
I'm
it.
shooting my first short film next week.
Oh,
we're waiting for
congrats.
the.
This is a long time coming, right?
Yeah, this is a long.
And I said I'll be there if you need me.
Howie inspired this. To be 100% honest with you, Howie and I had a drink about 6 months ago, and that kind of inspired this pivot. It's
Okay.
called. But no, I'm trying to shoot my short film next week. We're still waiting on location and actor availability because when you have no budget, you gotta wait on actor availability.
Dude, I'm right here. I'm right here.
You know what? Next one.
Give us a
Yeah.
synopsis, a brief synopsis of what the short film is going to be about.
I essentially took the first 5 minutes of The Social Network and I tried to recreate it in my own tense. So
it's like an alternate storyline, like alternate
no, just
track of history.
the
conversation,
The theme of it's literally just a dinner conversation. Like literally, two people, man and female, with some sort of relationship. Because for me, like I came into this with an angle, right? Like I really admire Sorkin. I just watched his latest film, and that's how I got into this. So for me, this is dialogue. For me, this is, can I execute the dialogue, and can the dialogue drive the story? Howie and I essentially had a conversation 6 months ago where he was, he told me about one of his experiences with somebody senior than him. And he's just like, we're sitting here, and where we're at the Barbarian. It's it's romantic lighting, and as we're having a conversation in my head, I'm just like, I pride myself on writing dialogue. I can drive a story through dialogue. We can keep it very short, which is one of the things that Howie said. So we're trying to get this sub 5 minutes, and it's really just like boom, 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 boom. And it'll probably be really terrible, to be 100% honest with you, really terrible. But I think it's an important step.
Well, all first-time short films or first-time films are terrible. I'm not saying yours is guaranteed
Not
to be terrible.
necessarily. I think the most important.
Howie's
first
was
time.
great. Howie's was great.
No,
right?
I think the most
But that
important.
wasn't like entirely his first.
Yeah, but
Sure.
I think the key is it's not about putting yourself in a corner where you're saying what I'm going to do is terrible. Yeah, I think it's about looking forward and looking up looking at the big picture where you're saying that I'm going to create this film. The film's topic is this. The basis is around that.
Yeah.
The execution process is this,
Yeah.
and it's all part of my journey. So once I create this film, this film is going to exist. It's going to have a certain meaning, and whatever it means, that's what you define.
Amen.
That's it. And you keep doing it. It's not about it's going to be bad.
Your first film is going to be wet cement.
Well, just like our first podcast, and like everyone's first podcast, it's gonna be it's fucking terrible. It's like it's really bad.
Yeah. We'll see.
But I mean,
It'll come out early March.
But
I always
kinda,
read it, so
to go back to your initial
Sure.
really brilliant metaphor. I mean, it's wet cement, right? Like we're not here to produce like this perfect thing. It's you're gonna do something. It's gonna be wet cement. You're gonna learn from it, and you're gonna build something else, and you're gonna build something else, and then one day, if this is really what you are passionate about, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
That's gonna be the title of this episode. Wet cement.
yeah,
Or
that's a great
Confucius.
title,
Can I just say
sure,
something
yeah.
real quick?
Confucius.
I just say
Go,
something real quick.
We can wrap up,
So
yeah.
when he first talked about the wet cement metaphor, wet cement and hard cement, right?
I said that.
Yeah, but then he took it to the next level and he started like talking about like you're throwing the wet cement and you're going to manipulate the wet cement to something.
He did a great job. Yeah,
Yeah.
I said on
So you know what went through my head? Like I don't know why, but he was saying that. All of a sudden I'm picturing like this anime like magician, like some guy like throwing wet cement. He's like, "Bunkai," and he like takes this whole like wet cement and turns into something.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, right. And meanwhile, you throw like this hard cement. He's like, oh fuck, right? You can't do anything. So it's like a very like different process. And I think I'm going off on a tangent, so I'm gonna go back to you, Stephen.
Wow.
No, yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's what Clubhouse. That is what.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
what.
That's what Baijiu does
That's
to you.
what
So
Clubhouse
Baijiu
has the
does, yeah.
privilege
Yeah.
of getting.
Yeah. So check out my short film that'll come out 2 weeks after this. Yeah, I'm kidding,
No,
I'm
no,
kidding.
we're gonna definitely
check it out.
plug it. We're gonna
Do
definitely.
you
I'll let
have
you
a
know.
Do you have a title for the short film?
It's called 2/3.
2/3.
We're gonna
Two-thirds,
plug it. We're gonna
yeah.
plug it.
All right. Do you
we'll
have
see.
anything else? Any top secret projects in the works?
No, this dude, I am a little swamped. That's why I really wanted to come out tonight because it was like, oh my god, I don't have to host for once. You know, like that's why I was so happy to be here with you guys. Honestly,
Dude, being a guest is actually kind of more fun than
It's
hosting.
so totally
Really, being a guest is so much more fun than hosting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's much more relaxing. Yeah.
But anyway, okay, Steven, you're fucking awesome.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
You guys too.
We went literally everywhere on this podcast. I
Yeah,
don't
we
even
jumped
know
around.
what the fuck we talked about.
We did a little House of Pain.
Bye, Joe. Let's finish it up.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
And who
Happy
are we?
Chinese New Year.
Who are we?
I am the preacher.
And
Justin.
Justin Yang. I am the politician. Howie Lamb.
And I'm Eric, the prosecutor. And by the way, my grandfather was a prosecutor in the Chinese government.
So it runs in the
Wow.
family. Okay.
Cool. I am happy to have witnessed this role assignment. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, happy
Anytime.
Chinese New Year. 恭喜发财。
Yeah.
恭喜发财.
身体健康。
Happy
新年快乐。
New Year.
新年快乐。
Okay, everybody. Peace. Be well. Be good. Have a great fucking happy Chinese New Year's. And we will see you guys soon.
See you 明年.
明年见.
明年见.
Okay, guys. Bye.
Cheers.
The rise of the sun will see.